Hey folks, it's Nate. Thanks for joining me once again as we look to the horizon. I'm back and bringing you the weekly writing vlog. Not a whole lot to report this week. That's been the basic pattern for the last few of these. I have been continuing to try and get myself caught up on stuff, and for the most part, what that meant this weekend and this week was I wrote my chapter of the Dariel saga. And then once I got that out of the way, I sat down, had a bunch of things that I wanted to do, but I really started instead of doing most of the stuff on my to-do list, as is often the case when that seems a little bit daunting. I found myself starting on something else instead. I started taking some notes on a short story I'm hoping to submit to the next, whichever one of the three magazines that I follow to submit to as an opening for a fiction submission next. I'm not really sure which of those it's going to be. They are a little bit different in tone and tenor, so that will probably affect things too. Right now, I'm just at the idea and basic outlining stage, putting down, the 4 or 5 beats I want to cover in the shorts. Um, so not a whole lot of really complex stuff there, but I do have 3 or 4 different ideas I was hoping to expand on and test a bit before we got too close to the submission windows. I generally, for those things, I think, oh, I have all this time. I'll work ahead and, really get things hammered out and outlined and maybe even a rough draft done before the submission window creeps up. I've yet to actually succeed doing that. Usually I find myself wrapping up a submission at most a week before the window closes. And I'd like to get better at that. I think I could produce better stories and offer a better product. It is hard to juggle that with writing, editing longer projects. But that is one of the things I want to do. I would like to be able to develop both short stories and longer fiction projects at the same time. So I'm trying to develop a skill set in outlining and idea drafting that lets me do a little bit more of that. As is kind of the way it goes when I'm writing, I also find myself doing some basic concept sketches for some of the stuff that I'm thinking about. Some of it is new, some of it is playing around in with ideas and in worlds that already exist. So I'm able to juggle 4 different story ideas fairly effectively. Because there's only one I think where I really need to do a lot of visual concepting to help me get a picture of the story and the characters in my mind, which is something I do to kind of keep me focused when I'm telling a story. It helps me. Before I started doing this, I would often find myself fumbling in the middle of writing a scene when I had to describe them, a character getting putting on a new piece of clothing or getting ready to go to a new place, so they had to change their equipment, or just reaching into their pockets for something. I'm like, oh, what do they tend to carry around with them? Those were things I had a lot of problems with before I started this exercise of sketching characters out to help me get an idea of them. It really helps me solidify um, the kinds of things they have about them, their personality traits, and some other things. I know it's not that way for everyone. Certainly, there are lots of people who find pictures for inspiration and things like that. And I know people also will just write out game character sheets with inventories and things like that to help with that kind of hurdle. And a sketch is basically how I do that instead. Um, so having them is definitely helpful for me as I try and put together a new character and a setting, which is one of the things I'm doing right now. That's pretty much what I've been doing here at the writing table the last couple of weeks. Um, well, I guess really just the last week. I'm actually getting out week by week again. So yeah, things have been going okay. Um, and I'm trying to get back to the writing table on a more regular basis. But there is also a lot of yard work that needs done and stuff like that. So it's going to continue to be a bit of a juggling. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like button and a subscribe button down there. You can use those as you see fit, and I'll talk to you later.